scope view locks onto a small orange lifeboat as it bucks on dark water. The searchlight sweeps across the sea, white, sharp, unforgiving, then snaps away. A radio crackles with short, dry bursts. No speeches, no emotion, just clipped words and hard silence between them. This is the final night. And it's no longer really a negotiation. There's only one question left. Who blinks first? Easter Sunday, April 12, 2009. After days of pursuit and standoff in the Gulf of Aden region, the hostage crisis reaches its last phase. The lifeboat is still out there, still moving, but no longer free. Held inside a controlled perimeter under U.S. Navy watch. The ocean is open, yet everything feels boxed in. To understand why this ending happens in minutes, you have to remember exactly where Episode 2 left us. First, the tow line. Once the lifeboat accepted towing, it stopped being an escape vehicle and became a moving container. Predictable speed, predictable direction, predictable spacing. It wasn't just being followed, it was being managed. Second, the separation. The pirate leader left the lifeboat and went aboard the destroyer to talk. That single choice changed the structure of the threat. The coldest mind stepped out of the box. And what stayed behind inside the capsule was the most dangerous configuration of all. 3 armed men, 1 hostage, 1 cramped space, and rising exhaustion. Now, here is the key point of Episode 3, the rule that decides everything. The Navy can't end a hostage situation simply because it wants to. They wait for the threshold, imminent danger. That moment when the hostage is judged to be an immediate, unavoidable risk. When the situation crosses that line, the rules change. The mission shifts from bargaining to ending. And that is why these final minutes feel so strange on the surface. Because the perimeter looks calm. The ship holds distance. The lights sweep. The radio stays controlled. But underneath, every eye is tracking the same thing. Tiny movements inside a tiny boat. Who is stable? Who is shaking? Who is losing control? Meanwhile, on the destroyer, the leader believes stepping onto a warship is opening a door to escape. He thinks he's negotiating the way out. But the truth is harsher. The moment he leaves the lifeboat, the board gets locked. Because now the lifeboat contains less strategy and more volatility. Less control and more emotion. And emotion is what creates the imminent danger trigger faster than any demand ever could. Here's the twist that defines the finale. When the coldest man steps out of the box, the hottest man inside the box starts deciding everyone's fate. And once that decision is made, this story will not end with words. It will end in seconds. On the destroyer, the conversation is short, cold, and carefully boxed in. The pirate leader wants conditions, clear guarantees, a path that feels like control. He talks as if the deal is still the center of gravity, as if words can still steer the ocean. The Navy answers with the same disciplined tone it has used for days. Not hostile, not emotional, almost polite. But every sentence is a boundary. No sudden moves, no rushed promises, no momentum handed to the pirates. It's a negotiation designed to feel possible, while quietly denying the one thing the leader needs: certainty. And while the leader is trying to shape a deal on steel deck under floodlights, the real crisis is still happening where it always mattered, inside the lifeboat. That's the first twist of the final act. The lifeboat starts to betray its owners. Heat turns the air heavy, space disappears. The capsule smells like sweat and salt and fear. Nobody can step away from anyone else. Every shift of the sea throws bodies together. Every minute stretches nerves thinner. And with the leader gone, the remaining pirates don't become calmer. They become louder. The right hand is all pressure now. Voice sharper, movements faster, patience gone. The youngest pirate tries to mirror that aggression, but his hands don't match his face. He looks at the hostage too often, like he's checking whether the captain is still useful. Inside a cramped box, a hostage isn't just leverage, he's a psychological weight. He reminds the pirates that they're trapped with a problem they can't solve quickly. He reminds them that the warship is still there. He reminds them that every second they hold him, the consequences grow. And that weight turns into friction between pirates inside their own minds. Phillips understands this instantly. He does not try to become a hero. He does not challenge them. He does not force a move that would ignite the room. He does the one thing that keeps people alive in a pressure cooker. He stabilizes the rhythm. He speaks only when he must. He watches faces. He measures breathing. He keeps his body language small and non-threatening. He lets the pirates burn their own energy arguing, while he saves his. Because if panic spreads, it spreads fastest in a space this small. Outside, the perimeter continues its work. Quiet, repetitive, suffocating. This is twist 2. The cage tightens by math, not by speed. The destroyer keeps a steady gap, close enough to dominate the scene, far enough to avoid triggering a desperate reaction. The searchlight sweeps in predictable cycles, then cuts away. Surveillance stays constant, like a metronome in the dark. The effect is brutal. The pirates can't locate a safe direction to run. They can't build a new plan without being seen. They can't reset mentally because the pressure never leaves. It's the feeling of being hunted without being touched. And then the tow becomes the choke. Because under tow and containment, the lifeboat becomes even more predictable. Its speed and heading no longer belong to the men inside. The waves, the tension in the line, the slow pull of physics, everything is forcing the capsule into a controlled rhythm. That rhythm is what the Navy wants. Predictable motion means predictable windows. Predictable windows mean timing. And timing is everything in a rescue that must happen in seconds. Inside, the pirates feel that loss of control like a sickness. You can hear it in the way they talk. Shorter, harsher, more urgent. You can see it in the way they move. Faster hands, sharper turns, less patience. And you can sense the shift that matters most. They're no longer negotiating from strength. They're negotiating from fear. Then comes the cliffhanger moment. Small on the surface, massive underneath. A signal appears that changes the risk calculus. A sudden spike in tone, a hurried command, a movement that looks wrong. A weapon held differently. A burst of uncontrolled emotion inside a capsule where emotion is lethal. Nothing graphic, no gore, just a clear shift in the atmosphere, like the temperature jumps 10 degrees in one breath. And outside, on the warship, trained eyes read the same message at the same time. This is drifting toward imminent danger. From here forward, the clock doesn't count minutes. It counts seconds. Because you can negotiate with people, but you cannot negotiate with panic. And when panic takes the wheel, the end comes fast. This is the moment the rescue window opens. Not because someone decides to be brave, but because the structure of the threat finally changes. The pirate leader is no longer inside the lifeboat. That single fact matters more than any demand ever spoken over the radio. Inside the capsule now, there are only 3 armed men and 1 hostage. No strategist in the room, no cold authority to keep the temperature down. The hierarchy becomes unstable. Decisions get faster, sloppier. The right hand starts driving the mood. The youngest tries to match him. The third pirate follows pressure instead of logic. And in a space this tight, that instability is visible. Every movement is amplified. Every argument fills the air. Every second without a plan pushes them closer to a mistake. This is what conditioning the rescue really means. You wait until the situation becomes predictable enough to end. Then Twist 3 arrives. One of those rare moments where the entire environment lines up like a locked mechanism. A swell lifts the lifeboat, then drops it. The tow line tightens, straight and clean across the water. The spotlight stabilizes, no longer sweeping wildly, holding the capsule in bright clarity. The perimeter's rhythm becomes steady, like a metronome. And for the observers watching through optics, it's not just a boat on the sea anymore. It's a pattern, a repeatable motion, a stable angle, a clean line of sight, a controllable moment. This is why rescues are measured in windows, not wishes. Because you don't act when you feel emotional. You act when the geometry works. Now, at the command level, the decision is never described as revenge or payback. It is a threshold decision. The only time a hostage rescue ends the way it ends is when the hostage is judged to be in imminent danger. Immediate risk. No safe alternative. No time left for another cycle of bargaining. That threshold flips the rules. Before the IF, threshold. Contain, negotiate, drain energy, reduce chaos.
Weapon status.
After
Green.
the threshold, end it before the hostage becomes a statistic. And once that line is crossed, everything becomes procedural. Cold, professional, synchronized. A last breath of stillness. Then, 3 simultaneous shots from Navy SEAL snipers. No cinematic slow motion, no graphic detail, no gore. Just immediate silence inside the capsule's threat structure, like a switch has been turned off. A short radio confirmation follows. Clean, controlled, factual. The kind of message that doesn't celebrate anything, because this isn't celebration, it's resolution. The lifeboat rocks again. The light holds, the sea keeps moving like nothing happened. But inside, the world has changed. The hatch opens. Hands appear. Fast, practiced, careful. The hostage is guided out, not dragged, not thrown. Phillips is alive, breathing, blinking like he's waking from a nightmare that lasted days. A quick check for injuries. A blanket over his shoulders. Support under his arms. You can see it in his posture. The body is still in shock, but the air is finally his again. Breath returns. And with the hostage secured, the story doesn't end with the lifeboat. Because the leader, the one who stepped onto the destroyer believing he was negotiating escape, does not return to the ocean. He is restrained, taken into custody, moved into detention. And that is the mini cliffhanger that closes the action while opening the aftermath. If 3 men are gone and 1 is captured, what happens next? What does modern anti-piracy justice look like? What do these cases turn into in courtrooms, not oceans? And what is the real lesson the world took from this rescue? About time, containment, and the thin line called imminent danger? In Part 4, we decode the ending. Why it ended in seconds, what the tactical chain actually was, and what this case changed forever for pirates who believed the sea had no law. And just like that, the longest night on the ocean ends. Captain Phillips is alive and recovered. The hostage crisis is over. 3 pirates inside the lifeboat are neutralized, and the leader, who stepped onto the destroyer believing he was negotiating a way out, is captured. The date is April 12th, 2009. No victory parade, no dramatic speech, just a quiet, final shift from chaos back to control. Now, this is Warfare Decoded, so we don't end with what happened. We end with why it ended in seconds. Here are the 3 decisive factors, the 3 winning points that turned days of standoff into a final window, measured in heartbeats. Decoded Point 1. Time was the primary weapon. Most people think time helps the hostage takers. In this case, time destroyed them. Every hour added fatigue. Fatigue reduces judgment. It increases irritability. It makes small problems feel like personal threats. And under surveillance, fatigue creates patterns. repeated behaviors, repeated mistakes, repeated moments of instability. When a perimeter stays calm long enough, the chaos doesn't disappear, it concentrates. And concentrated chaos becomes predictable. That predictability is what makes a rescue possible. Decoded Point 2. The tow and the lifeboat created a chokehold. The lifeboat looked like a getaway vehicle, but it was a containment box. It's cramped, it's hot, it limits movement, it amplifies tension, and when it's under tow, it becomes even more controllable. A larger ship gives more hiding space, more angles, more unpredictability. A lifeboat gives almost none. Under tow and constant observation, the lifeboat becomes a single moving point in the ocean that can be managed. Direction, speed, spacing, and timing. That control turns open sea into a controlled environment. And a controlled environment is where professional rescue systems thrive. Decoded Point 3. Separating the leader created the rescue window. This is the pivot that locks the whole case into place. When the leader left the lifeboat, the group inside lost its strategist. The cold authority stepped out, and volatility stepped in. 3 armed men remained, but their decision-making quality dropped. The right hand's aggression started driving the room. The youngest pirate's nerves became a risk factor, and the hostage became a psychological weight inside a box that couldn't vent heat or fear. That combination raises the probability of imminent danger. And once that threshold is crossed, the rules change. Containment becomes resolution. Now the epilogue, because this is a true case, and true cases don't end when the camera cuts. The captured leader was taken into U.S. custody and prosecuted. The case became one of the most famous modern examples of how piracy isn't outside the law anymore. Because even on the open ocean, consequences can follow you across continents. And that's the final message of this series. On the sea, the winner is not the one who shouts the loudest. The winner is the one who controls the tempo. If you want more true case breakdowns like this, pirates versus navy, modern maritime warfare, and the exact tactical chains that decide survival, subscribe to Warfare Decoded and turn on notifications. Next series options. We can go deeper into Somali piracy escalation, how tactics evolved, how navies adapted, and why certain corridors became hunting grounds. Or we can jump to another true case file, another ship, another crisis, another moment where everything came down to seconds. Drop a comment with the next case you want decoded, and I'll see you in the next episode.